When I went to law school, I wasn't actually planning on being a law professor. I was actually going in there with the plan of being potentially a corporate attorney. But I remember sitting in my law school classroom, my very first semester, and just stepping back for a second and being amazed by what was happening in the classroom. The professor was asking in a Socratic fashion these challenging questions, and students were answering them, and by answering them, they were learning more, and we were all engaging collaboratively with this material. And I remember when I was stepping back thinking like, oh, it would be incredible to be able to have that opportunity, to invest in students, to help them along this journey of encountering the law and being introduced to the law. So I started then asking professors about what the path was to becoming one, and here I am years later, and I absolutely made the right decision. So my teaching philosophy, I think, is to have a balance in the classroom. I want my classes to be deeply substantive. I think a lot about the material that I'm presenting to students. I want them to really understand at a great depth the cases or the statutes that we're encountering. But I also want my students, and this is the flip side of the balance, to have a lot of fun, to have an authentic experience in the classroom, to not be afraid to ask questions, to make a comment, to really work out their kind of intellectual journey as they sit in the law school. My most memorable experience teaching certainly has to be my first online lecture. And I decided, hey, I'll do something fun with my first lecture. Made it a little bit funny, made it a little bit interesting, engaging for students. Now come to find out, one of my students clipped the first 2 minutes of that lecture, and the first 24 hours, like millions of views. But I think it was, both exciting and also I think a validation that, hey, I'm providing interesting content for my students, not just boring them to death, but also trying to couple that substantive approach with engaging material. Once my students graduate, I think that, after a few years, they'll remember very little about the actual substance of what we talked about. I like to think that they're going to carry with them in their hearts knowledge of the federal rules of evidence, but the truth is many will have different career paths, and so for some that might not be relevant. But what I hope all my students remember is the relationships that we created in the classroom. To see them grow, to see them really master the material in the classroom, and then to watch them years later take that material that you taught them and go to a courtroom and really just blow it out of the park, do a fantastic job, recognizing that all started perhaps in your classroom. I think that watching that journey is incredibly rewarding. When I first found out that I won the Rising Teaching Award, I think it was equal parts kind of joy and motivation. Joy because it was a recognition that all those hours that I spent thinking about my classroom, thinking about how to teach the material, preparing lectures for students, that those efforts were received well, and that they were received well not only by students but also by the university community, which again was very heartening. At the same time, though, I mentioned it was also a motivation. I think for me, being able to receive this award, it's a recognition that, hey, there's an opportunity here to continue to develop in the classroom, to continue to enrich that student experience, and that will certainly be a priority for me in the years to come.